Hi guys, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. If y'all questioning like what are you sitting on, where are your sheets at, I'm doing laundry. So, Pepper peed on my bed. Mom life, dog life. But anyways, so we're gonna get straight into this video. We are talking about team driving, my opinions on team driving, and all of that jazz. I'm gonna start off with pros and cons that are generally talked about, and then I'm gonna talk about my opinion at the end. So let's go ahead, get straight into it. Of course, I wrote it all down on my phone, so I'm gonna be looking down periodically. So one of the pros that people know about team driving is that you generally make a lot more money. You don't make like thousands more, but if you go to a company that offers team driving, if you compare team driving to solo driving, you'll likely make a few cents more. It'll be a difference in your paycheck for sure, but it'll probably be like a few $100s. And that's primarily because the truck never stops. So that means that you run more miles altogether. The con, however, with that is it's constant driving. If you're someone who doesn't like constant motion, being in a vehicle that never stops, then that may be an issue for you. Another pro is that you're not alone. So if you're someone who gets lonely quick, you technically are not alone. But the con to that is you aren't actually spending a lot of time together. In order for the truck to continue to move, you are driving and the other person is 9 times out of 10 sleeping. They probably won't sleep the entire time that you're driving, but the idea is that they're getting sleep, so it's not like the duration of your drive time is going to be spent with someone in the passenger seat. Half the time you'll be driving and you'll be driving by yourself. Another pro is extra help. So even though you're not spending a bunch of time with that person, when it comes down to backing up or judgment calls and things like that, you have a person there with you. So if you need someone to spot you while you're backing up and that person's willing to get out and watch you, or if you are going the wrong way or you think you're going the wrong way, you can sort of use both of y'all brain power together to make something happen. Like, you're not technically alone, so that always helps. The con to that, however, is that your reputation is technically linked together. I say that loosely because all companies are different and it's understood that you're two different people. Say for instance you're asleep and your teammate made the wrong turn, and now where y'all were originally gonna make it to your appointment on time, now you're gonna be maybe 30 minutes late, 45 minutes late. Depending on the company, that may be a big deal. Now that goes on y'all reputation, and if they look closely, they'll know who was signed in and who was driving at the time. But generally speaking, when it comes down to these planners and these fleet managers, they sometimes show a tad bit of favoritism. So if there's a team that is always on time, always getting their loads together, always handling their business, and they rarely take time home and stuff like that, some companies tend to give the better loads to those types of team drivers. And if you're doing really well but your teammate isn't doing as well, it rubs off on y'all reputation collectively, and you may not look like what you're doing, you may look like what you both are doing, if that makes sense. That's something to think about. Now, unfortunately, on my list, I technically have a tad bit more cons than pros, just based off what everybody says. So I'll go ahead and just let you know the rest of the cons. Another con is the lack of personal space. You guys are getting like the same cabs as people who do solo driving. It also, like I said, depends on the company, but for the most part, you have the same space as I do right now, or like a lot of solo drivers do. And so things like storing your clothes, your shoes, storing groceries and stuff like that may be a hassle. Not only storing, but just knowing that it's minimal moving space, like moving around. You both can't be standing up and doing moves at the same time. So like for instance, if you want to work out or if you want to stretch and stuff like that, you both can't work out at the same time. Like, there's barely enough space for you to work out. Being in that small of a space with another person can probably end up getting to you. Something to think about. Another con that a lot of people talk about is sleeping while the truck is in motion. Out of all the cons, I hear this the most, that drivers don't like to sleep when another person is driving because it could be a little more nerve-wracking, like they can get in an accident while you're sleeping or things like that, or just the truck in motion period can be enough to keep them awake or give them anxiety to where they can't get enough sleep. I know that to be an issue for a lot of people, and so if you're someone who can't get sleep in a car while a car is moving because it's too much, you probably wouldn't be able to get enough sleep with a truck moving, because that's a lot more movement. Another con is that you're generally mixing your personal life with business. This is sort of secluded to you being with someone that you know, but if it's like a friend, a family member, or your significant other, this is a place where you're making money. So if you guys are like constantly arguing, or there's constantly a feud, or just being around each other too much, it can cause a rift. People get petty out here, and you do not want your paycheck to be in that person's hands. And so it's very hard to not mix personal with business out here. You have to be with someone very mature in order to get your job done, or to at least have the same understanding of business comes first. Another con is higher demand loads. And that in itself isn't a bad thing. Honestly, that's probably the reason why you're making a lot more money, because you can make it to those loads a lot quicker. But the con in that is a lot of time the load has to be made there on time. Sometimes that can mean that you have to pretty much not take any stops to get there. That's not all the time, but it's more frequent for team drivers, hence the reason why you guys are receiving the load and not someone who's driving solo. If they know that the truck is not stopping, then they know that they can give you a load that might take longer for someone who's driving solo, and they can depend on you making it there if you do not stop. The problem with that is that means that you have less time out of the truck. And being that you are more likely to receive a higher demand load than other people, you might end up in the truck more often than people who drive solo, just based off the knowledge that you technically aren't supposed to be stopping. That can be nerve-wracking whether you're driving solo or you're driving team. Just understand that at the end of a solo person's day, they can stop the truck at the end of the day and go and walk anywhere, and they got the rest of the night for about 10 hours to handle whatever they want to do, whether it be sleep or whatever. But if your 10 hours is spent in the truck while another person is driving, you can't go and really walk anywhere for a long period of time. It's manageable, but it is something to think about. Another con, which is probably the number one thing, is hygiene. A lot of people speak about hygiene. It is something that I feel is subjective, because some people have good hygiene out here, but unfortunately there are a lot of people who still do not care too much about hygiene. So I think that if you're someone who is OCD, if you're someone who is used to taking a shower every single day without stop, and you run into someone who just doesn't care as much, and they start to develop a smell or things like that in your truck, it can get really messed up out here for you. Just being in close proximity to someone who does not value their hygiene like you do, or anything of that matter, even if you're someone who don't care about your own funk, it takes for somebody with their funk to come in your domain for you to be like, heck no. So just keep that in mind. You 9 times out of 10 want somebody to be as clean as you. You know what I'm saying? Or even if someone has like a cold out here and they don't value the same things like you do, like for instance, if they wipe their nose and they put the tissue in the cup holder, or if they sneeze and they don't wash their hands and they touch the steering wheel, or if they don't clean up after themselves, if they try to throw the trash into the trash can and it misses and it's on the floor and they don't pick it up before you get back in the driver's seat, or if they don't use napkins and they just use whatever cloth they find on the truck and maybe your t-shirt, or just anything, you get what I'm saying? Like, just knowing that not everybody looks at things the way you do. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to be talking about my opinion. Fun fact, you guys actually do not know this, but I actually used to drive team. I was not only on my trainer's truck, but I did drive team before. And the truth is, I actually enjoyed it, both situations. It wasn't perfect, but I'm not opposed to driving team again. I did make more money than when I drove solo over the road, and I was more sociable. I was able to talk to someone here and there. I did have another head to tell me whether or not I should and should not do certain things. Another person's opinion does help sometimes. It was a confidence booster out here, knowing that you have someone there to back you up just in case anything pops off or happens. I had more confidence to back up because I knew that there was somebody, if need be, there to take my spot in case I couldn't get my truck into the hole. I didn't necessarily need it, but just the confidence in knowing that if need be, I got somebody there to help me. Nevertheless, something that I won't do from here on out is I will not team drive with someone that I do not know. I did when I was training, but I won't do now because it's too much of a risk. I just don't want to be in a truck with someone I don't know or trust. My stuff can go missing. It's just too much to worry about. One of the biggest things for me is a difference in personality. Things like different diets. Like if I'm someone who doesn't eat meat and you eat meat, if you're cooking in here, it's probably gonna be an issue for me because now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna eat, but we just wasted dishes, you know what I'm saying? Different work ethics. If I'm someone who's really trying to push it to get these miles in, and then you're someone who's really out here for the experience, I might end up pulling a lot more miles than you do just based off my work ethic, and that can sometimes be annoying. Different cleaning rituals. If I'm someone who likes to clean after every stop and you're someone who barely likes to clean, that can get annoying. That can be an issue. Or if you clean differently than me. If you're someone who uses non-chemical things to clean and I'm someone who uses chemicals, that can be an issue. It can even come down to smells. If I'm someone who likes, I don't know, flower scents and you are someone who likes fruity scents and we both clash when it comes down to what scent to put in this truck, you know, like I'm someone who gets a headache if I'm smelling something that I technically don't want to smell, and especially if it's strong, or even if you're someone who wears very strong perfume or cologne and I'm someone who doesn't, it can get annoying. What about cigarette smoke? That's a huge thing because I don't smoke personally. I really wouldn't want someone in my truck that smokes. It's not because I have a problem with cigarette smokers as much as I know that everything in here will smell like cigarette smoke. And I don't want my clothes smelling like cigarette smoke, nor do I want my fabric or this truck to smell like cigarette smoke. It's just an inconvenience. And back to the food part, what if you're someone who likes to fry foods and now all my stuff smell like fried catfish? That's not gonna be fun. I'm someone who's technically very reserved out here. I don't like doing the most, but what if you're someone who's super risky? What if you like I don't know, speeding in 35 miles an hour lanes, or if you're making U-turns all day long and you know the company be watching, or if you're just someone who's more careless. Don't drag me down with you and don't start putting my job at risk. You know what I'm saying? It even comes down to being a talkative person. I'm not all that talkative. I may talk a lot on YouTube, but that's because it's YouTube. If I'm in this truck and I'm trying to have peace and quiet, you could probably not even be talking to me. What if you on FaceTime for 30 hours and I can't even have a peace of mind because you talk loud or laugh loud or whatever? I know some of y'all have probably been in an Uber before where the driver would not stop talking or the passenger would not stop talking and you were just trying to focus on whatever you were trying to focus on. I know that probably got annoying to you, especially for my introverts out there. I would find that a little bit annoying. Can't lie. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being talkative, but you don't want to be paired up with someone who isn't talkative. And I wouldn't want to be paired up with someone who's super talkative. What about pet lovers? There's pet lovers out here, dog and cat lovers. I myself, before having my puppy, I wasn't a huge fan like some people be. Like, you know what I'm saying? But what if you want a dog on this truck and I don't? Or what if you want a cat and I don't, or whatever the case? Or what if you're someone who's super into like saving squirrels and stuff, and the moment you see roadkill half dead on the road, you want to bring it in this truck? It's gonna be a problem. I remember there were two pet peeves that I just really couldn't deal with. Number one was if I'm stopping to switch you in, I 9 times out of 10 will stop at like a rest area or a truck stop so that you can either get you something to drink or eat, or you can at least use the bathroom. But if it's time for me to drive and I get out after you done parked, I open the curtains and you done parked on the side of the freeway, or I can't even use the bathroom, you know I just woke up, that's a pet peeve. Like, that in itself is just not fun. Don't nobody want to be switching on the side of a freeway or at a place where you can't use the bathroom or collect yourself or at least brush your teeth, wash your face. Like, that's just not considerate. Another big pet peeve of mine was I generally never drive all 11 hours, but if I'm driving like 9-10 hours every single time it's my time to drive, but you aren't driving that much, that to me is a little bit annoying. And the thing is, it's okay if you stop one day and you still have like a couple hours on your clock and it's because you don't feel good or you're tired or things like that. Or it's even okay if you stop for a couple minutes, 20 minutes to get yourself together, get you something to drink, go use use the bathroom, take you a nap. I don't even care about stuff like that. But if I'm stopping and I only got like 1 or 2 hours left on my clock, and every time you stop you got like 4 hours left on your clock, that's the problem. Because not only am I feeling rushed to start my clock over, but it's also now we're sitting still. And there's been times where I've had my company call us like, what's going on? It's cool every once in a while, but like if that's a normal thing for them, y'all gonna get calls, and I'm just not here for that. That was a huge pet peeve of mine. Nevertheless, I think it's all about personality, and it's about who you know. Even if it's someone that you are super close with, keep in mind that you guys have never been as close as you will be once y'all start driving trucks. So if you really want to be with, say, your best friend or your cousin or your auntie or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your husband, or your, even your mentor, keep in mind you guys will have differing opinions sometimes. I would never drive a truck with someone who is immature, someone who doesn't own up to their responsibilities or the things that they've done wrong, someone who isn't open to change, because you guys will go through changes on this truck, and someone who isn't able to separate personal life with business. I don't think that team driving is a bad thing. I know plenty of people who love to team drive. Like I said, I'm not against team driving. I'll team drive to this day. But I mean, at the same time, I'd have to have known the person for a while. I'd have to trust their driving. I myself, I don't have a problem with the truck moving. The truck being in motion while I'm driving actually puts me straight to sleep because it sort of rocks me. But nevertheless, let me know in the comments if this video was helpful for you, how you feel about truck driving as a team, and all that jazz. I love you all so much, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.